The War Council chamber aboard the Dominion flagship fell silent as Commander Vex'thara slammed 3 of her primary appendages against the tactical display. The holographic readout flickered, casting blue light across her scaled features. "Impossible," she hissed, her vocal sacs contracting. "These numbers cannot be accurate." Admiral Kro'meth leaned forward, his compound eyes reflecting the disaster scrolling before them. 23 Dominion battle cruisers, gone. 17 support frigates, vaporized. And the casualties. Oh, the casualties made his blood run cold. "The data has been verified 4 times, Commander," whispered Tactical Officer Rin, her voice barely audible. "The human forces suffered 0 losses. 0. Vex'thara wanted to laugh. She almost did. 6 cycles ago, when the Galactic Dominion had first encountered humans, the intelligence reports painted them as primitives. Soft, squishy creatures who had barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Their homeworld was a death trap by any reasonable standard. Too much oxygen, crushing gravity, temperature swings that would kill most civilized species, and yet they thrived there. The mad fools. How many ships did they deploy? Kro'meth asked, though he already knew the answer would make him wish he hadn't. 7. The Admiral's laugh came out as a choking sound. 7 ships against their fleet of 40. The mathematics alone should have guaranteed victory. Should have. Past tense. Very past tense. "Perhaps," Rin offered hesitantly. "We underestimated their technological capabilities." "Underestimated?" Vex'thara spun toward her. "We assessed them as Category 4 civilization, basic fusion drives, kinetic weapons, primitive shield technology. Our analysts spent months studying their transmissions." "Yes, Commander. Our analysts who are now space debris." The silence that followed carried weight. Somewhere in the distance, the ship's life support systems hummed their eternal song. Vex'thara wished they would stop. Everything should stop. The universe should pause and explain how this had happened. But the universe, as humans might say, did not give a single damn. "Show me the engagement footage," Kro'meth ordered. From the beginning. The holographic display shifted, reconstructing the battle from sensor data. The Dominion fleet had emerged from hyperspace in the Outer Rim sector, a strategic position near 3 human colony worlds. Standard intimidation tactic. Show overwhelming force. Demand surrender. Accept tribute. Move on. Except the humans had not received the memo about standard procedures. Their 7 ships had appeared almost immediately, as if they had been waiting. No, not as if. They had been waiting. Vex'thara's secondary stomach churned. The trap had been set for them. "Freeze there," she commanded. The image paused, showing the human vessels in formation. "Magnify Vessel 3. The ship expanded to fill the display. It looked wrong. All human ships looked wrong. Where Dominion vessels followed the sacred geometries of war, efficient and beautiful in their deadly purpose, human craft appeared cobbled together from scrap metal and desperate hope. This one bore markings in their bizarre alphabet. The translation matrix identified it as UHS Vengeance. How quaint, how utterly adorable, how absolutely terrifying in retrospect. Resume playback. What happened next would haunt Vex'thara for the rest of her considerably shortened career. The human ships had not hailed them, had not warned them, had not wasted a single second on diplomacy. They simply opened fire. But fire implied something simple, something comprehensible. What the humans unleashed defied every tactical manual in the Dominion archives. The first salvo tore through the Dominion vanguard like it was constructed from prayer and wishful thinking. Shields that should have absorbed the impact simply vanished, vaporized, erased from existence along with the ships they protected. "Pause," Kro'meth said quietly. "Analysis. What are we looking at?" Rin's fingers danced across her console. "The projectiles appear to be accelerated to 0.97 light speed, encased in some form of exotic matter. When they impact our shields, they create a localized causality violation. Speak plainly, Tactical Officer." "Sir, they shoot things so fast that physics breaks." The Admiral's laugh held no humor. "Of course, why wouldn't they?" Vex'thara studied the frozen image. One of the Dominion cruisers, the Eternal Blade, hung in space at the moment of impact. Half the ship existed. The other half occupied a space that probability suggested should still contain a ship but somehow didn't. The boundary between existence and non-existence appeared fuzzy, undefined, offensive to the eyes and mind. Continue. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted 18 minutes. The Dominion forces tried everything. Evasive maneuvers proved useless. The human targeting systems locked onto vessels before they even completed their maneuvers, as if they could predict probability itself. Return fire struck human shields and simply stopped, frozen in space, hanging there like cosmic decorations before dissipating harmlessly. How? Vex'thara demanded of the universe at large. How is their defensive technology so far beyond ours? It isn't, Rin said softly. Excuse me, Commander. We finally decrypted some of their tactical chatter. The human shields aren't beyond our technology. They're behind it. Decades behind it by their own admission. Kro'meth's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Then explain why our weapons couldn't touch them. Because they don't rely on their shields, Admiral. Look at the engagement angles. Every single human ship positioned itself to take fire on the most heavily armored sections. They calculated attack vectors, adjusted position in real time, and used their armor plating as primary defense. Their shields were backup, tertiary backup. Vex'thara felt something cold settle in her chest cavity. They tanked our weapons. Yes, Commander. The humans built their ships to absorb punishment that should atomize them and then asked for seconds. One of their destroyers, the UHS Defiant, took 17 direct hits from plasma cannons before even activating emergency protocols. The playback continued. One by one, Dominion vessels winked out of existence. Some exploded in brilliant spheres of escaping atmosphere and fusion core breaches. Others simply broke apart, torn into component molecules by weapons that violated several conventions on civilized warfare that humans had apparently never signed. But what chilled Vex'thara most was the efficiency. The cold, calculated, methodical elimination of every Dominion ship. No mercy, no hesitation, no quarter given or expected. There, she said, pointing at the display. What is that one doing? A human ship identified as UHS Retribution had broken formation and accelerated toward a cluster of Dominion frigates attempting to retreat. The range was impossible. No weapon could accurately target at that distance. Not with the spatial distortions from the ongoing battle. The human ship fired anyway. A single projectile crossed the void, curved around two separate gravity wells, passed through a debris field that should have deflected it, and struck the fleeing frigate's engine core with surgical precision. Sweet stars of the ancients, Kro'meth whispered. They banked the shot. Impossible, Vex'thara said, knowing it wasn't. The humans call it mathematics, Commander. Very, very aggressive mathematics. The battle ended not with a climactic explosion but with a whimper. The last Dominion vessel, the carrier Sacred Honor, attempted to jump to hyperspace. Human targeting systems locked on during the jump calculations. 3 ships fired simultaneously. The carrier emerged halfway into hyperspace before the shots connected. The resulting spatial anomaly would require a month to collapse naturally, and had already been designated a navigational hazard. Total engagement time, Rin reported, 17 minutes and 42 seconds. Dominion casualties, 15,318. Human casualties. We know, Vex'thara interrupted. 0. Admiral Kro'meth stood, his posture carrying the weight of species-wide mistakes. Send a priority transmission to the High Council. Mark it urgent. Mark it terminal. What message, Admiral? Tell them we were wrong. Tell them the humans are not Category 4. They are not Category anything. And tell them, he paused, choosing his words with the care of someone who knew they might be his last. Tell them that humanity did not build their ships for exploration or trade or even defense. They built them for one purpose, and we just discovered what it was. Vex'thara pulled up the human ship classifications on her personal display. She had seen them before, dismissed them as primitive naming conventions. Now they read like prophecy. Destroyer, cruiser, battleship, dreadnought. Not a single human military vessel bore a name suggesting peace or harmony or scientific inquiry. They named their ships after concepts of revenge, defiance, retribution, and vengeance. They flew in formations called wolf packs and hammer strikes. Their tactical doctrine had sections titled acceptable losses and escalation protocols, and the galaxy had assumed they were soft. Commander, Rin's voice shook. We're receiving a transmission. Audio only. It's from one of the human vessels. Play it. Static filled the chamber, then cleared to reveal a voice. Human. Male. Based on the vocal patterns. Speaking slowly, carefully, in perfect Dominion standard language, to whom it may concern. This engagement has been recorded and transmitted to both our respective governments. We did not initiate hostilities. We did not fire first. We responded with appropriate force to an invasion of sovereign human space. If you wish to discuss terms of retreat, we are willing to negotiate. If you wish to escalate, we have another 100 ships in this sector alone. Choose wisely. Message ends. The transmission cut off. Appropriate force. Vex'thara replayed those words in her mind. Appropriate. As if annihilating an entire battle fleet was merely proportional response. Admiral, your orders. Kro'meth stared at the tactical display, at the scattered debris field that had once been the pride of the Dominion Navy. Signal retreat. Full withdrawal from this sector. And someone find out what else we don't know about these creatures. As the flagship prepared to jump to hyperspace, Vex'thara pulled up the original intelligence assessment on humanity. She read through page after page of dismissive observations. Biologically weak, technologically inferior, strategically naive, politically fragmented. Every single word was accurate. Every single conclusion was catastrophically wrong, because somewhere in Earth's history, these soft, fragile creatures had looked at their weakness and decided it was a problem to be solved. They couldn't change their biology quickly, so they built machines to compensate. They couldn't match the technological superiority of older races, so they optimized what they had until optimization became art. They couldn't compete strategically with species that had mastered warfare for millennia, so they studied every battle, every conflict, every war their species had ever fought and learned. Oh, how they learned. The jump to hyperspace engaged, and the Dominion flagship fled. Behind them, 7 human vessels maintained their position. Weapons still hot, shields still minimal, armor still scarred. Waiting. Always waiting. Because if there was one thing humans excelled at beyond violence, it was patience. And somewhere in the depths of space, an intelligence officer in the Dominion fleet was about to discover exactly how many wars humanity had fought against itself before ever reaching the stars. The number was going to ruin his entire week. The High Council chamber on Dominion Prime had witnessed countless declarations of war, treaties of peace, and the rise and fall of civilizations, but never in its 12,000-year history had it seen this. Grand Counselor Vex'thara stood at the central podium, his forearms trembling as he read the casualty reports aloud. Around him, representatives from 47 member species sat in stunned silence. The holographic display above showed numbers that refused to make sense no matter how many times they appeared. 3 more fleets, he said, voice cracking. Gone. The 8th Armada encountered human forces near the Kepler colonies. 52 ships lost, human casualties, 14 wounded, 0 dead. Counselor Vyresh of the Thal Collective rose from her seat. This is absurd. No species can achieve such ratios. The data must be corrupted, sabotaged perhaps. Verified independently by 6 different monitoring stations. Vex'thara replied. All non-Dominion. All reaching identical conclusions. He paused, letting that sink in. The humans are not cheating, Counselor. They are simply better at this than we are. Better at what, exactly? Demanded Counselor Plex, his bioluminescent patches flashing angry red. Slaughter? Murder? Is that what we're celebrating now? Admiral Kro'meth, standing in the witness circle like a criminal awaiting judgment, finally spoke. With respect, Counselor, we invaded them. 3 separate incursions into human territory. 3 times they warned us. 3 times we ignored those warnings. And 3 times they responded with exactly the level of force they promised they would use. Promised? Vyresh laughed bitterly. They threatened us. No, Counselor. They made predictions. There is a difference. And we are learning it the hard way. The holographic display shifted, showing intelligence reports compiled over the past 2 cycles. Vex'thara gestured toward them with 2 of his hands while the other 2 gripped the podium for support. What you are about to see has been classified at the highest levels until this moment. 6 cycles ago, when we first made contact with humanity, our xenology teams conducted standard cultural assessment. They focused on human art, literature, and entertainment broadcasts. What they found should have warned us. The display flickered, showing images from human media, films, television programs, books, games, hundreds of them, thousands. This is their entertainment, Vex'thara continued. Notice a pattern? Counselor Vyresh leaned forward, studying the images. They are all about war. Not just war. Apocalypse, alien invasion, zombie outbreaks, nuclear holocaust, artificial intelligence uprising, asteroid impacts, pandemic disease, climate catastrophe. In their fiction, humanity faces extinction roughly every 6 months by their calendar. Plex's patches flickered to confused yellow. Why would they constantly imagine their own destruction? Because, Admiral Kro'meth said quietly, they are practicing. The council chamber erupted in incredulous chatter. Vex'thara raised his primary arms for silence. The Admiral is correct. Our xenology teams finally completed their analysis. Human entertainment is not escapism. It is preparation. Every film showing alien invasion includes detailed tactical analysis of how to resist. Every book about survival in hostile conditions is effectively a training manual. They call it fiction, but they mean it as instruction. He pulled up a specific example. This human film, titled Independence Day, depicts Earth being invaded by a technologically superior alien force. The humans lose initially, millions die, their military is decimated, and then they win by exploiting a single weakness in the enemy's networked computer systems. The film was released in their year 1996. We verified the date. So, Varesh asked, one lucky story. That same tactical doctrine, exploiting networked vulnerabilities, appeared in 17 subsequent human military manuals. They watched this film, this entertainment, and immediately began developing countermeasures for an invasion that had not happened yet. They weaponized their imagination. The display showed more examples. Stories of zombie infections led to actual CDC protocols for pandemic response. Films about nuclear war resulted in distributed government systems designed to survive decapitation strikes. Books about generation ships influenced their early space station designs. Every nightmare they can conceive, Vex'thara said, they prepare for, and then they practice the preparation until it becomes instinct. Counselor Melvar of the Science Directorate spoke up, her synthetic voice modulated for clarity. You are suggesting that an entire species has spent millennia training for threats that did not exist. Worse, Counselor, they trained by fighting each other. The display shifted again, showing Earth's history. The timeline was color-coded by conflict. There was very little white space. In the past 5,000 years of their recorded history, humanity has been at peace, total global peace, for less than 268 years. They have fought over land, resources, religion, ideology, pride, revenge, and occasionally because they were bored. They developed weapons specifically to kill their own kind more efficiently. Poison gas, nuclear weapons, biological warfare, autonomous drones. They looked at every method of destruction and asked not should we but how well can we. Kro'meth gestured at the timeline. That period there they call World War II. 6 years, 70 million dead. They invented rockets, computers, and nuclear fission during that war. Then they had another war, a cold one, where they didn't actually fight, but threatened each other with extinction for 40 years. During that period of not fighting, they created the internet, satellite communication, advanced AI, and put 12 people on their own moon just to prove they could. What kind of species treats existential threat as motivation for innovation? Plex whispered. Theirs, Kro'meth said simply. And now they have brought that same energy to stellar warfare. Vex'thara pulled up recent intelligence from human colonies. Our embedded observers report something else, something worse. The forces we have engaged represent approximately 4% of human military capability. The council chamber went silent. Repeat that, Varesh demanded. 4%. Most of their military remains in Sol System protecting Earth. The ships we fought were what they classify as expeditionary forces. Light units designed for rapid deployment and colonial defense. Light units, Plex repeated, his patches cycling through colors of distress. Those were their light units. The human military designation system ranks vessels from patrol craft to dreadnought class. The largest ship we have engaged masses approximately 800,000 tons. Intelligence suggests humans have completed construction on vessels exceeding 4 million tons. They call them planet crackers. Vex'thara paused. The name is not metaphorical. Counselor Melvar accessed the data streams directly through her neural interface. There is another detail the council should know. Human doctrine divides their military into defensive and offensive branches. Everything we have encountered falls under defensive operations, meaning they have an entirely separate fleet optimized specifically for attack operations. Those forces have not yet been deployed. We have only faced the humans when they are, by their own definition, holding back. The implications settled over the council like a burial shroud. Somewhere in the chamber, a young representative from a recently uplifted species began to laugh. Not from humor, but from the sheer cosmic absurdity of it all. The Dominion, masters of 3 sectors, conquerors of 100 worlds, had picked a fight with a species that practiced warfare the way other civilizations practiced art. Vex'thara continued. Our analysts have finally translated their strategic doctrine. It is based on something humans call the Powell Doctrine, named after one of their military leaders. The core principle is this: if force is necessary, use overwhelming force. Do not engage in limited warfare. Do not hesitate. Apply maximum violence with maximum speed until the enemy can no longer resist. Then rebuild their civilization better than it was before. That last part seems contradictory, Vex'thara observed. Does it? They bombed 2 of their own cities with nuclear weapons to end World War II. Then they occupied those territories, rebuilt them from scratch, and turned former enemies into close allies within a generation. The humans understand something we forgot. War is not the opposite of peace. War is the violent shortcut to forced negotiation. Admiral Kro'meth pulled up tactical footage from the most recent engagement. Watch this, carefully. The display showed a human vessel, designated UHS Indomitable, engaging 6 Dominion cruisers simultaneously. The human ship took fire from all directions. Shields collapsed within seconds. Hull armor began to glow from plasma impacts. Any sane commander would have retreated. The Indomitable accelerated directly toward the nearest cruiser. They rammed it, Virus said, horrified. Not exactly. Watch their weapon systems. At the moment of closest approach, the human ship fired every weapon in its arsenal simultaneously. Point-blank range. The Dominion cruiser exploded. The shockwave threw the Indomitable into a tumbling spin. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. 2 of their reactor cores went into emergency shutdown. And then, while spinning uncontrollably, still venting air, the human ship fired its maneuvering thrusters in a sequence that turned the spin into a weapons solution. They shot the second cruiser while literally tumbling through space. Is the crew even alive? Plex asked, patches flashing panicked white. Yes. The engagement report indicates they suffered 63% casualties. The surviving crew continued fighting from sealed compartments. They destroyed 4 of the 6 cruisers before human reinforcements arrived. The captain, a human named Marcus Wade, sent a formal complaint to his superiors afterward. Complaint about what? His ship was only rated for engagements with 4 enemy vessels maximum. He felt the mission parameters were, quote, wildly optimistic and possibly resulted from someone confusing his ship with a larger one, end quote. Counselor Melvar processed this information through her enhanced cognitive networks. Admiral, what was the designed combat lifespan of that vessel? Kro'meth checked his notes. Human vessels are rated for approximately 30 years of service under normal conditions. And under combat conditions? The humans, do not plan for their ships to survive extended combat. They consider them expendable. But the crews? They consider the crews expendable too, Counselor. That is why they train so extensively. Every human military member we have profiled demonstrates identical psychological markers. They accept their own mortality as a mission parameter. Not hypothetically. Actually, they sign legal documents acknowledging that service may result in death, dismemberment, or psychological trauma, and they volunteer anyway. That's insane, Virus said flatly. That's humanity, Kro'meth replied. They see a problem that might require sacrifice, and they stand in line to be the sacrifice, not because they want to die, but because they have collectively decided that some things matter more than survival. Vex'thara pulled up the final piece of intelligence. The High Council must now decide how to proceed. We have 3 options. 1. Continue the conflict and accept that casualties will be catastrophic. 2. Negotiate peace from a position of demonstrated weakness. 3. Attempt to form an alliance and hope the humans are more interested in friendship than revenge. You left out option 4, Counselor Plex noted. Surrender. The humans don't accept surrender, Counselor. We reviewed their historical records. When enemies surrender, humans occupy their territory, restructure their government, and integrate them into the post-war order. Unconditional surrender to humanity means becoming effectively a human protectorate. They call it nation building. We would call it cultural assimilation. The council members looked at each other, each silently calculating the cost of pride versus the cost of extinction. I vote for option 3, Virus said quietly. Alliance, we need them on our side before someone else starts a war that humanity finishes for them. The vote proceeded quickly. 42 in favor of alliance, 3 abstentions, 2 votes for continued conflict, both from species with territories far from human space who apparently believed distance would protect them. They would learn. Everyone learned eventually. Vex'thara composed the official message to Earth's government. It took him 3 hours to find words that conveyed respect without groveling, acknowledged fault without accepting blame, and proposed friendship without looking desperate. The response came back in 45 minutes. They accept, Vex'thara announced, reading the message. They propose a summit on neutral ground. They suggest the station at waypoint 7. They will send ambassadors, scientists, and, quote, enough military representatives to ensure nobody gets stupid ideas, end quote. Admiral Kro'meth allowed himself a small smile. That last part is them being polite, Counselor. They're bringing enough firepower to slag a continent and calling it an honor guard. Let them, Virus said. After what we've seen, I'd feel safer with human weapons pointed at potential threats rather than at us. The council session ended. Representatives filed out, already composing messages to their homeworlds. The Dominion had learned a lesson that countless civilizations before them had learned too late. Never, ever assume that a species from a death world that spent millennia fighting itself for practice would be an easy target. The humans had been preparing for galactic war since before they left their cradle world. They just hadn't told anyone because they were fundamentally polite about their capacity for violence, right up until someone forced them to demonstrate it. Admiral Kro'meth stood alone in the council chamber afterward, staring at the casualty reports. 15,000 dead, another 20,000 wounded. Ships that had served for generations reduced to debris and memory, and the humans had been, by their own admission, showing restraint. His communicator chimed. A message from the human fleet commander, Admiral Lisa Okafor, sent on an open channel so everyone could see it. The message contained 3 words and a visual attachment. The words read, "No hard feelings." The attachment was a human custom, something they called a meme. It showed a picture of a human smiling and giving a thumbs-up gesture while standing in front of burning wreckage. Kro'meth stared at it for a long moment, then began to laugh. The humans had just destroyed 3 fleets, killed 15,000 Dominion personnel, and traumatized an entire galactic civilization into rethinking their place in the universe, and they were sending jokes about it. Because of course they were. Welcome to galactic politics, human style, where the warfare was brutal, the diplomacy was pragmatic, and the gallows humor was absolutely mandatory. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere on Earth in a military academy, young humans were already studying this conflict, analyzing what worked, identifying what could be improved, and preparing for the next war. Because preparation was what humanity did best. That and exceeding everyone's expectations for violence when properly motivated. The Dominion had written off humans as primitives. Then the casualty reports came in. Now they knew better.